The Tie and Hoodie Show is sponsored by ICCLending.com. For real estate service, please go to ICCLending.com.
3, 2, 1.
Every human came to earth with a gift, and they must discover that gift and refine that gift for them to be fulfilled.
The prerequisite for spending time with any person is that they nourish and inspire you. They feed your flame.
Yo, hey man, how you work this radio?
You're not listening to the Tie and Hoodie Show.
Keep it locked.
Owning a home and paying it off is one of the data points of an everyday millionaire.
Home sales across the U.S. are on the rise as buyers take advantage of record low mortgage rates.
Good morning. Now let's get back to the Tie and Hoodie Show.
Good morning. It's the Tie and Hoodie Show right here on 93.5 K-Day. Each and every Sunday, 6:30 a.m. to 7 a.m. As you know, all shows are sponsored by ICC Lending. It's the one-stop shop for all your home loans. You can also get all this valuable information, any other information you might hear throughout the shows or past shows on tieandhoodieshow.com. I'm your host, Trevon Smith, also known as Trey, with my co-host, the one and only Mr. Andrew Jesse Koba. How you doing today?
I'm doing great today, man. How are you today? How was your weekend?
My weekend was great. It's always great. You know, Sundays are great to look forward to. You can get that new information. Like I said, I always feel like we're getting a counseling session.
Yes, we are.
I'm always trying to absorb as much information as I can. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I mean, well, we usually are together in the studio, but because of COVID, you know, we're just trying to be safe, you know, and that's the reason why we're doing this Zoom, you know, but normally we're together, you know.
I honestly believe the Zoom will be the new. I don't think it'll be because of COVID in about 6 months. But
I miss seeing you though. I mean, like
anytime, you know,
person, you know.
I'll pop up at the house with the kids.
But show up anytime.
I'm excited about today's guest. She's a lady with a lot of experience. She's a commercial real estate broker. She's a business and real estate attorney. She's an investor, a CEO. We call that a boss lady. She has her own YouTube channel, The Entrepreneur Hustle, I believe. Is that correct?
That's correct. I have a lot of YouTube channels.
Got that YouTube channel. Miss Corey, how are you doing this morning?
I am well. How are you guys?
We're doing pretty good.
We're doing good. Thank you for the opportunity. I follow your content on LinkedIn. That's how we connected. You know, I told Trevon, my co-host, about you, and she's like, yeah, absolutely. Would love the opportunity to get blessed by your knowledge. So here we are.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to come on and share with your guests, but I love the concept. And I love the idea that, you know, no matter our differences, there are things that bring us together, and money lots of time is one of them. So let's talk about real estate investing and money and how we can make sure we're generating and creating wealth in our communities.
So
absolutely.
So from the introduction that hopefully our listeners got a chance to hear every single detail, that doesn't come easy. A real estate, investor, broker, CEO, and lawyer. How is it that you juggle all those titles? And I want to hear a little bit, like I say us listeners, like I'm a fan of being a listener, want to know a little bit about what entailed you to get there to where you are now, you know, from what you've been through or you know, the ups and downs, etc. So you might inspire another young lady or gentleman.
Yeah, well, actually, I was a young mom. I was pregnant in college. And so that was kind of my motivation. It probably started my trajectory. I got an MBA, graduated with an MBA and a 2-year-old. And so from there, I went to, you know, you start working just wherever you can work. And that's the path I took. I kind of worked my way up. I became a COO for a physician's practice, a large physician's practice. And then I decided I took what I knew at that point. I had been a real estate agent and kind of self-trained in commercial. I helped other office managers find office space. but I decided I wanted to know a little bit more and have a different level of knowledge. So I went back to school to become an attorney. And so I went to school at night. And it's a 4-year process year round to get a law degree at night. So what I do now and kind of the different areas that I juggle are really just an outshoot from what I've had to do my adult life, which is managing kids, personal life, family life, and then making sure you're on top of your business. So because of that, I have a special place in my heart for entrepreneurs. I understand the challenges and the struggles and the hustle. And so that's kind of where the podcast came from, and the YouTube channel, just making sure that people have a space to know you're not alone in the hustle, and that you can do it. I certainly did not come from, did not have the best start, but not having the best start doesn't mean you can't have a fantastic finish.
I mean, there's so much that between you and Travon, the conversation we just had right now, there's so much jam-packed into this little intro. And I'm the one that like to kind of slow things down a little bit and bring it back a little bit. People need to understand our show is about personal development and about making moves and becoming better. People, if you may, can you just rewind a little bit and educate or encourage, I would say, especially moms out there or women out there listening to our show right now saying, I don't have time. I don't have money. How am I going to start? What does it take? What did it take for you to go from, where you were? I mean, how much time and energy did you have to put into it? And in the process, why didn't you lose hope? Or if you lost hope, how did you get back on track?
Yeah. Well, I think it's important for people to remember that you see someone who's done something that you might admire and you think that they have some sort of special skill different than you. Maybe they're smarter, maybe they're more capable, maybe they have better resources. And then I will be the first to tell you, my best and most powerful resource is persistence. Okay. I am just able to be persistent. If I want something, it's kind of like when you want a juicy steak. And you spend your whole day like your mouth's watering, you want this. I'm the person like, no matter what, I'm going to finish my night off with this. And so I think you don't have to worry about being the smartest or the brightest or the most connected. But if you just persevere, you have a dream in your mind and you persevere every day walking closer to that, amazing things can happen. So if I had to encourage somebody with one thing, I would say just keep persevering. And it's funny, we look back in our lives and we often do this without really giving ourselves credit. Single moms out there, you have to make things happen for your kids and make things happen at work. Now, empower yourself to make things happen for yourself.
Look, you lost me at I read all this information. I did not know you did this when you was a mom. That's amazing. It's inspiring in so many different ways for women. And I hope a lot of women are listening to this, because I know a lot of women, my mom had me at a young age, and some women, they lose, I don't want to say they lose hope, but they have to kind of readjust their goals. And what you're saying is, hey, readjust those goals, but still keep your foot on the gas. You have to somehow manage to keep your foot on the gas. And I think that's really inspiring for our listeners to hear that.
Yeah. And, a lot of what we do is for our kids. So give them that, make yourself their role model and feel comfortable in that position. My daughter is 18 now. She's in college. And so, now we're able to have conversations about, she saw the hard work. She saw the hours, the sleepless nights. She saw the hustle to make sure that this job pays for the mortgage, but this job can pay for the extracurriculars or the guitar classes or the swimming classes, So kids see that hustle and they admire it. And so let's make ourselves our kids' role model. Let's not wait for athletes or rappers or whomever to do it. We can be our role models for our kids.
Yeah. So going back to being, again, getting a 4-year degree is hard enough. You have levels way above those, I want to go back and again, educate or encourage somebody who's coming from behind, who's going through the hurdles. How you must have nights where you're just thinking, I'm going to give up. I'm gonna give up. I'm sick of this. How do somebody get out from that rut, and how do we help them look 5 years ahead, 10 years ahead, rather than getting jealous of somebody's Instagram post or Facebook post? How can you encourage somebody to do that?
I think the number one step in just kind of taking that breath and seeing where you are now is gratitude. Just as you go through your day, as you start to feel discouraged or overwhelmed or stressed out, just take a look around. You have your health as best as you can. You have your friends and family around you. You aren't, homeless on the street. And some of people who are, just knowing that whatever you have, the fact that you still have breath, is the encouragement that tomorrow can be a new day, and there is no stop. Like, you feel like you've reached this wall, but the fact that you have tomorrow means that you have another opportunity to reach your goals, to grasp for the things you want, and to keep pushing. And that's the main ingredient. Keep pushing, keep trying. And like I said, amazing things can happen when you commit yourself to do that.
So with going through all the things that you are, CEO, YouTube, commercial broker, what are some of the advantages and disadvantages of wearing all the hats that you wear? Like, on this side, there's the advantages. I'm just assuming, like, it doesn't matter if the commercial real estate is down, then I still got lawyer work. I mean, can you just talk to them a little bit about the business aspect of it, how your day-to-day goes, and maybe some things that are not that so positive, but you have to deal with it just because of who you are, dealing with so many things. So some positives and negatives as far as like dealing with all the hats that you wear.
Well, there's not a day that goes by that I don't think I am crazy. There's not a day that goes by. I think, what is going on here? I would much rather be hanging out on the beach. What if? And you look around, and honestly, I see people with more conventional lives, and I say, well, what if I just took a position and I made X, Y, Z, and I did this and that, and I had a predictable day. And so sometimes that looks good. And then you just kind of rolled it back to knowing yourself, who you are, what do you want? Is entrepreneurship a passion of yours? Or if having a flex schedule where you can spend time with your kids and family, if that's a passion of yours, then you're willing to put up with the things that are not so fun to get the big rewards. So when I'm able to spend, one-on-one time with my kids, and it may be like a trip we get to take. We got to hop down to Mexico recently. And that's where I say, okay, all of the late nights or all of the working till 7 p.m. and waking up at 6, it was worth it because I'm able to set my own path. And that's very important to me. So you have to prioritize what's important to you. And you can't find that looking on Instagram, checking out other people's pages, even hearing other people's story. Find out what's important to you and act accordingly. Well, how I did it may not be how you do it, but you can still have what you want. And that's how you find what makes you happy.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing. I mean, to hear, because, Travon and I have come from rough edges, and, before we met, I mean, we've known each other for over 10 years. And even before we met, he had his struggles, I had my struggles, and when we met, it was funny how we were talking about how we blamed everybody else for our troubles until we took responsibility and started taking the steps to do what needs to be done to get to where we are now. So people will see you now, like you're saying. I love what you're saying. It's like you have to decide what's good for you and not, follow the crowd, in order to kind of be able to find, your niche and you wearing so many hats. Now, I got really dialed into your LinkedIn, 10 tips for real estate investing series, because I'm a mortgage loan officer. I help people find, loans for real estate, but I you're up to like tip number 5 now, and they're just phenomenal. I mean, little tips that people don't know here. Well, what made you start that, and just kind of give us an idea on that?
Well, I started investing myself because it's one thing to help people make money, but some of that insight or some of that process is helping investors find space or find properties made me realize it was something that was not out of reach. It was something I could do as well. You know, you could start with a property that costs as little as $25,000 and rent it out, you know? So it's, people make real estate investing seem like such a scary thing. And getting to know some investors, some really, really successful investors, let me know that they did not start off buying $1 million buildings or buying 60-unit buildings. They started off really small. They started off at auctions. They started off, you know, asking or buying properties from family members. And they were able to, from that, jumpstart their career in real estate investing. So I didn't want it to be such a mystery. People talk to me all the time about my experiences or helping them either start a real estate investing group or start investing themselves. And they seem so overwhelmed. And it does not have to be a super scary process. You should be, you know, real about what the process is, but don't think it's just for Warren Buffett's to invest in real estate. All of us can begin the process of wealth creation for our families and being thoughtful and purposeful about it. And so I wanted to take some of the guesswork and mystery out of it.
Miss Corey, what are some things like with the, because we've talked to a lot of guests and the 2020 has become more of an adjective than if anything else than a year. What are some things that like have you, I know everybody say, oh, don't get me wrong, I want to say this correctly, that it's not been a horrible, it's been definitely a horrible year for most, but I've seen a lot of people as yourself, like come up with different strategies and come up with different plans, whether it be more digital marketing or whatnot. What are some things that 2020 have taught you that you've kind of adjusted to, and maybe somebody else listening, you know, you might point them in the right direction from a lady with, you know, as much success as you doing what you're doing?
Well, 2020 has taught me a lot about time, and law school or being an attorney makes time a priority to me because I bill, like I get paid off of my time. I don't get paid necessarily when something's done. I get paid off of my time. Okay. So 2020 has made me really reflect on time, and we think we don't have enough time for either work and getting all the things we need to have done at work, or we think we don't have enough time for the things we want to do, traveling or spending time with our kids or our parents. And so 2020 has taught me, one, the value of time. And it's not money, right? It's that we can't get it back. It's an invaluable commodity. Once your time is spent or wasted, there is no rewind button on loss of time. So making sure that you put the time in for the things you want to do. It may be something that you're unfamiliar with. You don't know anything about real estate investing, for instance, but you have the time to learn it if you apportion your time correctly. So a lot of this year was me looking at projects. 2020 gave me a lot of time, right? Because I'm usually busy, I'm networking, I'm doing this and that. You can't do that anymore. So what can you do? Invest in yourself, right? Read a book, turn the TV off, you know, step outside of your comfort zone. And you can do that in the comfort of the four walls of your home. You don't have to be out adventuring to do something new, to try something new, to learn something new. So using that time to develop yourself, whether you're in school or not. YouTube is a great place to find people. You can still connect with people on LinkedIn as we did. So don't use 2020 as an excuse, or use it as an example as to the fact that you don't need anything special to get outside of yourself and do something new.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head on all aspects. You know, now going back to what you do, do you want to give out a website or how people can find you if they need help as to your profession, and you know, if somebody wanted to consult with you one-on-one?
Maybe they have family in Houston or
California, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
It's up to you.
I'm licensed in California and Colorado because I also do CBD and cannabis mentoring for people in my legal practice. So they can always check me out on my website for my law practice, which is theclfirm.com, theclfirm.com. They can just always email me. Lots of people ask me questions. They want to learn about real estate investing. They have some questions about CBD and having a cannabis business, or they just want to start a business and don't know where or how to start. So they can always shoot me an email at ecurry@theclfirm.com.
So that information, I mean, we are going to obviously, you know, include it on our website and on our YouTube page, so people can always reach out to you, because we really appreciate the opportunity to bring our listeners resources, not only to just tell them that, see, you can get up and do something, but also when you decide to get up, the next step is, okay, so where do I start? Who do I call? Who do I talk to? So folks like yourself, I think, is invaluable when it comes to, getting that step up, and I really want to thank you for that. One other question, 2021, any specific big goals or plans that you have that you want to share?
2021, I really want to make it a more holistic thought process for wealth creation for entrepreneurs from my practice. So I work a lot with entrepreneurs or investors in my legal practice. And I may help them with starting their business or managing the legal aspects that they need managed during the course of their business. But I want to take that even further. I'm very passionate about community and making sure that we are really invested in our communities. I invest in Third Ward in Houston because that's where I live and that's where I'm from. But even moving that past to how do we create and generate wealth? So we're launching a series, 1 on real estate investing and 2 on really thinking about wealth creation. What is your insurance plan? What are you thinking about as far as your will or creating a trust? How are you leaving a legacy for your family and for your community? So that's the most exciting part to me, making it more holistic. So it's not just I'm an entrepreneur, it's that I am an investor in my community and I'm creating wealth for my family and a legacy for myself. So that's the next part for me that I'm super excited about.
And that leads right into what I was thinking about going over my note, because you got so much information about you. I want to talk about, we got about a little bit over like 10 minutes or whatnot, but I want to, throw the show to you and talk a little bit about the entrepreneur hustle, the YouTube. What made you decide to come up with it? What came into the title of it? And what can people get out of, going to your YouTube page? And because I'm a big YouTube fan now, Andrea has put me on, it's like, oh, you should spend time and learn certain things about, and there's so much that I've been learning about YouTube, not about YouTube, about people and what everybody does on their journey. So what are some things that people get out the journey with you going to the Entrepreneur Hustle YouTube channel?
I just started it really because I was at home during COVID and so many people began to think about entrepreneurship. Maybe you lost your job or your job isn't treating you right, or you have free time because you're at home all the time. So people were asking questions about entrepreneurship and the hustle. You may just have started off as a kid braiding hair. That's how I started. Or however you started, mowing lawns, things like that. But sometimes people, it's in them, but they have so much fear surrounding it. Yeah. And even when you're an entrepreneur, you feel alone a lot of times. You can't really share with friends and family who may not understand this hustle, because what is their answer, right? Just get a regular job. Why go through the stress of it all? Mm. Why be broke just to become an entrepreneur? It doesn't make sense to everyone. But for the community of entrepreneurs, you want to know someone has your back, and it feels good to know that you're not alone. Like, I'm feeling sad, I'm depressed, I'm overwhelmed. Who do you have to talk to? And the Entrepreneur Hustle YouTube channel is really just a community. Often it's a reflection of questions that people pose me or conversations I have with other entrepreneurs and my advice on how to get through it. So, in July, we had a 30-day tip where we were just taking a look at all the things that could jumpstart your mid-year, and we'll revisit that at the beginning of the year. So you join us in January, and we'll be walking through day by day ways you can jumpstart your hustle, making sure that you have some tips and some community for your journey as an entrepreneur.
The journey is absolutely challenging. I mean, I've mentioned this on the show several times that I have been through a divorce. I've been bankrupt. I've, lived in a house in a room, lived in my car for 30 days or more. I mean, so much of what, when you see people nowadays and you see what they're doing and you're like, oh, wow, you're so successful. But you don't understand it's a lonely world sometimes because there's so much you're struggling with in your head, trying to balance 50 things at the same time and still try to be a human being all in one.
Yeah.
Any thoughts to that,
I mean, I think that's one of the that's one of the saddest things about entrepreneurship to me. I think people only look at the highlights. It's like looking on somebody's Instagram. That is not what entrepreneurship is. Even if you have the Bentleys and all the cash and you're doing fabulous, even the people at the top of their game face challenges. And so I think having a real conversation about entrepreneurship, one, makes it more realistic for people if they want to hop in, and most importantly, tells people not to give up if you're in the middle of it and you're at your low, because it's highs and lows. Yeah. I saw a funny meme where it just talks about like the 12 hours you might have in a day as an entrepreneur, and you start off maybe feeling on top of the world, and then you get a bad call, or then a client doesn't pay, and then you have to pay bills and it puts you in the red, and then you get a new call that, you know, a big deal is going to happen. And so it is in any given day, you could feel great and horrible all in one mix. Mm-hmm. And so let's take off the covers. Let's take off the blinders on that and have honest conversations with somebody. It doesn't always feel good. It often doesn't feel good. But that doesn't mean it's not worth it. And that doesn't mean you can't do it. So I wanted this to be a place where we could just say, hey, I've been an entrepreneur for the past 20 years and I've had good days and bad days, but don't look at the highlight reel and think that's what it is. I'll be honest with you about my experience.
Well, we're back. Trevon, you back? Yeah, there you are.
I think I
thought I lost you for a second. You know, hey, COVID, Zoom, this is what we're doing, right?
This is unprecedented times. This is what we do now. But I did hear what you were talking about, and I think that's very valuable information to our listeners listening around the world, that the life is sometimes an emotional roller coaster, you know, when you step out that comfort zone. So I think that's why a lot of people, and Andrew knows me more than anybody around me, I was comfortable with a 9-to-5, and it takes being comfortable with being uncomfortable, you know, to stepping into that emotional roller coaster. So that's what I get from, you know, like, I'm glad you shared that with people on your YouTube channel, because other people, I think they're missing that area as far as just saying, oh, it's just the Instagram highlight. No, life is not all about highlights, man. It's a lot of bad days that come with those great, great days.
Yeah, I think that's the part where community, where you have someone you can ask and just kind of bounce ideas off of, and that you don't get just the doom and gloom, because you want someone to be real with you, but to not be negative, right? And so often when people don't understand your hustle, where you're coming from, what your goal is, they can just give you the doom and gloom that honestly you may not need at the time. It doesn't help you. It doesn't inspire you. It doesn't push you forward. And so that's the point of the entrepreneur hustle. How do you push forward? This is reality, right? And 2020 has taught us that. You might be betting on the 9-to-5 and it feels good and you know what the paycheck is, but we've learned that we can't count on anything. We can't even count on the world being open. So if it's in you to be an entrepreneur, 2020 has taught you, if you can survive 2020, you can step your foot out there and start your business and start on your path to entrepreneurship.
The entrepreneur hustle to YouTube. Go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm super grateful. I absolutely will be a client. I can tell you that for sure. You know, I've been following your content, and I'm grateful for people like yourself who's getting, you know, going out of their skin and say, you know what, I'm going to put it out there because I know people need this, you know. And that's the same thing that Trevon and I had to come out of our skin and say, you know what, let's start this show because we know that we can bless hundreds of thousands of people with guests like yourself to let them know that, so you're not alone. You know, you're not alone, and guess what? You're not the first, and you're not going to be the last. So don't be so hard on yourself. Go through the motion, go through the process, and achieve what you're out there to achieve.
And, you know, I always tell people, like, lean into these failures, right? You may have started a business before. All of these things that people use, like, I don't want it to not have any money, or I'm afraid of bankruptcy, or I've been through a bankruptcy, or I'm going to owe XYZ. Failures is part of the process. Lean into it. Learn the lessons that failure is there to teach you, and keep it moving. So I think failure is a big reason why people don't want to start. Okay, maybe for you guys, maybe we'll have a podcast and nobody will watch, or nobody will agree to be a guest. That kind of brushes out the way. If somebody declines, then you keep trying, you ask someone else. And the more you do that, the more you find the odds are in your favor, right? If you keep pushing, if you keep knocking on the doors, someone will answer, you'll get the yes, people will begin to listen. And so if you're persistent and consistent and mix that together with some vision, nobody can stop you. And people just forget that. Kind of school doesn't teach that. Our friends and family around us may not tell us that and reinforce that. And so we have to learn it from ourselves and from other entrepreneurs. But I am a real fan of it. It's my life motto. And I think that the proof is in the pudding when you learn the real stories of entrepreneurs that you might respect.
Miss Corey, before we get out of here, give everybody the information you need to give them so they can receive this information all day and all night.
Yeah, so you can find me at eleanorcurry.com, and that'll have a link to all of my businesses, or you can go to www.theentrepreneursHustle.network. And that's where I have my content from the Entrepreneur Hustle. And like I said, reach out. I try to be available for chats with people. You know, it may just be 5 or 10 minutes, but if it's encouraging and it gets you further to where you want to go, it's worth my time. It's invaluable to me. So that's me in a nutshell, but I'm always here to encourage other entrepreneurs to take that risk themselves.
It's definitely, I'm sorry, boss, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's okay. So, I mean, we would love an opportunity to bring you back again in the next couple of months. You know, hopefully you'll be available, because we know we still have a lot to unpack and be more specific to what questions our listeners might have asked us that we want to kind of relate to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And if people want to know more about real estate investing, I know you're a guru yourself, and I often talk about money and understanding the cost of money. So I'm sure you're the kingpin on that. But certainly we can have another chat about how to make that happen for them and what it really entails.
Look, you're not running from us. We're gonna hunt you down in 2021. But we want to thank all our K-Day listeners and everybody tuning in. Look, the Tie and Hoodie Show, this is what we're here for. Valuable information to teach you guys about the ups and downs, as you already know, but let you know there's light at the end of the tunnel. Every Sunday morning, 6:30 to 7 a.m. Or you can go to tieandhoodieshow.com. And please don't forget, this show and all shows are sponsored by ICClending.com, where all your home loans are available. Andrew, appreciate seeing you this morning. Miss Corey, appreciate seeing you.
Thank you.
Look, the Entrepreneur Hustle. Go check it out, YouTube channel. Thank you guys for listening. We'll see everybody next week.
Hey, do you have valuable information that can help your community?
Okay.
And you'd like to be a guest? Hit us on our social media.
Do it now. The Tie and Hoodie Show is sponsored by ICClending.com. For real estate service, please go to ICClending.com.